You're thinking sword. That's mistake number one. You've watched every zombie movie, played every survival game, and somewhere in your lizard brain, the image is crystal clear. You, standing over corpses, wielding a gleaming blade like some apocalyptic Aragorn. Here's the thing, swords are shit for zombie work. They're maintenance nightmares. They require years of training to use effectively, and they get stuck in bone like a shopping cart wheel in a pothole. The internet is full of sword romantics who've never swung 18 pounds of steel at a moving target for more than 30 seconds. Your arms turn to jelly, your grip fails, and that beautiful blade you thought would save you becomes a 20-pound liability you can't lift. But here's what separates fantasy from function. The weapons that actually worked in medieval combat weren't designed to look cool. They were designed to break bodies efficiently with minimum effort. Before we dive in, quick reality check. If you're finding actual tactical value here, hit subscribe and the bell. This channel exists because most survival content treats you like an idiot. We don't. Now let's talk about the 7 medieval weapons that'll keep you breathing when edged weapons get you killed. Let's set parameters for what we're working with. You're facing standard Romero-style shamblers. Slow, relentless, skull-based kill requirement, fluid transmission through bites. You're not a trained fighter. You're an average person with average strength and 0 battlefield experience. You can't hit a moving target reliably. Your cardio is decent but not exceptional. You get tired, you get scared. You make mistakes under pressure. Here's what you need to understand about zombie combat versus human combat. Humans dodge, block, retreat strategically. Zombies walk into your weapon until their brain stops functioning. That changes everything about weapon selection. Distance becomes survival. Impact energy matters more than cutting edge. Reliability under repeated use crushes flashy technique. And here's the critical detail everyone misses. You need weapons that work when you're exhausted, terrified, and operating on muscle memory from adrenaline-soaked repetition, not years of practice. Number 7. The crossbow. Yes, it's ranged, which violates the melee spirit of this list, but hear me out. Medieval crossbows require 0 training compared to longbows. You pull, you aim, you shoot. A child could learn it in an afternoon. The penetration power is absurd. These things punched through plate armor. A zombie skull is soft tissue and bone. The bolt goes through and keeps going. Here's why crossbows work in apocalypse scenarios where modern firearms eventually fail. You can make bolts. Not easily, not quickly, but you can craft them from materials you scavenge. You can't manufacture gunpowder in your basement without specialized knowledge and ingredients. The crossbow is simple physics: tension, release, trajectory. It's silent, it's reusable. And here's the tactical advantage. You can preload and carry it ready. No chambering rounds, no magazines to fumble. Point and squeeze, the downside is reload time. You're getting maybe 1 shot every 15 to 30 seconds depending on the spanning mechanism. That's an eternity when shamblers are closing distance. You use this for sentries you need to drop quietly, for clearing a room before entry, for that one ghoul between you and the car. You don't use it as your primary weapon. You use it as your problem solver. Number 6, the billhook. You've never heard of this one unless you're a medieval weapon nerd, and that's exactly why it makes the list. A billhook is a polearm with a hooked blade designed for pulling riders off horses and dragging enemies into kill range. In zombie application, that hook becomes a nightmare for the undead. You don't swing it like an axe. You hook skulls, pull them off balance, and use leverage to drag them into positions where you can stomp or crush. The reach is 6 to 8 feet, depending on the pole length. That's 2 body lengths of safety zone. The hook lets you control zombie movement without getting close. Snag a leg, trip them, pin them to the ground. The blade on the inside curve means you can still slash if needed, but the real power is in the pull and control mechanics. You turn the zombie's own momentum against it. They walk forward, you hook and yank sideways, they go down. You reposition and strike again. Here's the genius of the billhook. It was a peasant weapon, not a knight's tool. That means it was designed for people with minimal training who needed to survive using strength and basic technique. You're not executing complex forms. You're hooking, pulling, and using the pointed tip for thrusts when openings appear. The maintenance is simple. Keep the blade sharp, keep the pole intact. No moving parts to fail. No complex balance requirements. Number 5. The Flanged mace. This is where we start getting into the blunt force trauma weapons that make swords look like expensive toys. A flanged mace is a shaft with a metal head featuring protruding ridges or flanges. The flanges concentrate impact energy into smaller surface areas, which means skull penetration without the cutting-edge maintenance issues. You swing, the flanges bite into bone, and the kinetic energy transfers directly to the brain. The beautiful simplicity of a mace is this: you cannot fuck it up through poor technique as easily as a blade. Miss your edge alignment with a sword, and you're slapping with the flat. Miss your angle with a mace and you still deliver blunt trauma. The weapon forgives your mistakes while still doing catastrophic damage. That forgiveness is survival when your hands are shaking and your vision is tunneling from fear. Weight distribution matters here. A one-handed flanged mace weighs 3 to 5 pounds, with most of that weight in the head. The physics work in your favor. Short arc, high velocity, concentrated impact point. You're not trying to cleave through armor. You're trying to crack a skull that's already compromised by decomposition. The flanges do that work efficiently. One solid hit and the zombie's lights go out permanently. The grip and shaft combo means control even when things get slippery. Blood, rain, decay fluids. None of it matters when you have a textured grip and a balanced weapon. You can swing this weapon for extended periods without the arm fatigue that makes swords impossible after the first few minutes. The technique is primal. Raise above head, bring down on skull, repeat. You learn it in 5 swings. You master it through repetition, not years of training. Number 4. The warhammer. Not Thor's hammer, not a fantasy prop. A medieval warhammer is a functional tool designed to punch through armor by concentrating all impact force into a small surface area. The hammer face crushes. The spike penetrates. Against zombies, both functions are equally effective and equally brutal. The warhammer solves the fundamental problem of zombie skulls, variable density and decay states. Fresh zombies have intact bone structure. Older zombies have brittle, degraded skulls. The hammer doesn't care. The spike punches through regardless of bone integrity. The hammer face delivers shock trauma that liquefies brain tissue even if the skull stays intact. You get 2 kill mechanisms in one weapon. Here's the tactical advantage that separates warhammers from other options. Armor spike versatility. You can use that rear spike for hooking, for climbing, for prying open doors, for anchoring yourself on unstable terrain. The weapon becomes a multi-tool. In a survival scenario where you can't carry 50 pounds of equipment, every item that serves multiple functions is a force multiplier. Your weapon is also your door breacher, your climbing aid, your barricade destructor. The balance point on a warhammer sits close to the head, which means controlled strikes with less arm strain. You're not windmilling like an idiot. You're delivering precise, devastating impacts to specific targets. One swing, one kill, move to the next target. The efficiency keeps you alive when you're facing multiple zombies, and every wasted movement is borrowed time from your survival clock. Number 3. The polehammer, also called a bec de Corbin or lucerne hammer. This is a warhammer's big brother, 6 to 8 feet of pole with a hammerhead featuring a spike, a hammer face and sometimes a hook. The reach advantage is massive. You can engage zombies from well outside their grab range. The multiple striking surfaces mean you have options based on the tactical situation. The spike is your primary zombie killer. Overhead thrust drives it straight through the crown of the skull. The hammer face is for side strikes when you're in confined spaces and can't get full overhead clearance. The hook, when present, lets you trip or drag zombies into positions where you can finish them efficiently. 3 weapons in one package, all mounted on a pole that keeps you at safe distance. Here's what makes the polehammer exceptional. You can use it defensively to maintain space. Zombies close in, you extend the weapon horizontally and push them back. The pole becomes a barrier that buys you repositioning time. Then you rotate to offensive, raise, strike, kill, reset. The length means you can engage zombies through barriers, over obstacles, around corners, where getting close would be suicide. The learning curve is steeper than a mace because you're managing a longer weapon, but the fundamentals are simple. Thrust with spike, swing with hammer, use pole for control. You practice until muscle memory takes over. The weapon's length provides margin for error that shorter weapons can't match. You miss your first strike, You have time and distance to reset before the zombie reaches you. That recovery window is the difference between a mistake and a death sentence. Number 2. The quarterstaff. Hear me out before you roll your eyes. A quarterstaff is 6 to 8 feet of hardwood, tapered at the ends, designed for two-handed fighting. You're thinking this is too simple, too primitive. That's exactly why it works. There are no moving parts to fail, no edges to dull, no weight distribution to manage. It's a stick. A precisely balanced, historically proven stick that peasants used to beat armored knights into submission. The zombie application is perfect. You maintain distance through constant striking. Thrust to the face pushes them back. Sweep to the legs drops them. Strike to the head from outside their reach delivers enough concussive force to crack weakened skulls. The technique is intuitive because humans have been hitting things with sticks since we climbed down from trees. You don't need a manual. You need practice time to build accuracy and power, but the basics are hardwired into primate brainstem. Here's the advantage that makes the quarterstaff brilliant for extended survival. You can make one from scratch, find a sapling, cure the wood, shape the taper. You can't manufacture a warhammer in the apocalypse without a forge and metalworking skills. You can make a functional quarterstaff with a knife and patience. When your primary weapon breaks, you can replace it with materials you find in any wooded area. That sustainability is critical when you're thinking years, not days. The two-handed grip means power generation from your entire body, not just your arms. You rotate hips, transfer weight, and drive strikes with core strength. This distributes fatigue across multiple muscle groups. You can fight longer before exhaustion forces mistakes, and when you do get tired, the weapon is light enough that you can still defend effectively. A sword becomes a liability when your arms give out. A quarterstaff becomes a walking stick that can still crack skulls when you're running on fumes. Number 1. The two-handed war axe, specifically a bearded axe or Danish axe pattern. Not the fantasy double-bladed abomination. A real medieval war axe with a single blade, a hook or beard under the cutting edge, and a long shaft for two-handed use. This is the weapon that wins in extended zombie scenarios because it combines reach, chopping power, versatility, and durability in a package that doesn't require nightly training. The bearded design means the cutting edge extends below the socket where the head mounts to the shaft. That extension creates a hook you can use for tripping, pulling, and controlling zombie movement. The primary function is still the chop. Overhead strikes drive the blade through zombie skulls with the same efficiency your ancestors used to split firewood. The technique is identical. If you've ever split logs, you already have the muscle memory. The zombie skull is softer than hardwood. The axe goes through. Here's why the war axe beats every other option on this list: material availability and maintenance. The blade needs sharpening, but it's a simple convex edge that you can maintain with a file or stone. The shaft is replaceable wood. When it breaks, and it will eventually, you can fit a new handle using basic carpentry. Compare that to a polehammer, where the metal head is permanently mounted, or a mace where the balance depends on precise weight distribution. The war axe is modular. You can field repair it with scavenged materials. The chopping motion uses gravity and body weight, not pure arm strength. You raise the axe, you let it fall, you guide the trajectory. Physics does most of the work. That mechanical advantage means you can deliver killing strikes even when you're exhausted, injured, or operating at reduced capacity. The weapon compensates for your weakness through leverage and mass. And unlike a sword where edge alignment determines cutting effectiveness, an axe forgives poor technique. Hit at a slight angle, and you still cleave skull. The margin for error keeps you alive when perfect form is impossible. The reach on a two-handed war axe is comparable to a quarterstaff. 6 to 7 feet from your hands to the blade. That's zombie grab range plus 2 feet. You can engage from outside their threat range, deliver your strike, and reset before they close distance. The weight distribution keeps the weapon maneuverable despite the size. You're not swinging a tree trunk. You're controlling a balanced tool designed for efficient killing. So let's do the tactical assessment. You're locked in a medieval armory. Zombies are coming. You get one weapon. The sword enthusiasts are dead in the first hour because their blade stuck in the third zombie's ribcage, and they couldn't extract it before number 4 bit their arm. The mole ninjas with their fantasy weapons are dead in the first day because they couldn't maintain edge alignment and their blade folded like aluminum foil. You're standing there with a two-handed war axe, systematically dropping zombies with overhead chops, and you're still operational at hour 6. Short-term survival with any of these weapons is high if you maintain distance and don't get surrounded. The crossbow handles single targets and sentries. The billhook controls space and movement. The mace delivers reliable kills through simple mechanics. The warhammer punches through regardless of skull condition. The polehammer extends your kill range to safety distance. The quarterstaff offers sustainability and improvisation. The war axe combines all advantages into one package. Long-term survival depends on maintenance, replacement, and your willingness to do boring, methodical weapon care every single day. The sexiness of medieval weapons disappears when you're sharpening blades by firelight for the 100th time. But that discipline is what separates survivors from corpses. The practical advice is simple. You prioritize weapons you can maintain, repair, and replace using available materials. You train with them until the movements are unconscious. You accept that zombie killing is repetitive, exhausting labor, not a movie montage. Here's the reality check. None of these weapons make you safe. They make you more likely to survive the next engagement. Zombies don't tire, don't retreat, don't make mistakes. You do all three. The weapon buys you time to escape, to barricade, to reach safety. It's a tool, not a solution. Your survival depends on tactics, positioning, awareness, and the discipline to disengage before exhaustion forces errors. All right, your turn. If you had to pick one weapon from this list, which one matches your actual physical condition and skill level? Not your fantasy self, your real self, the one who gets winded climbing stairs. Can you actually swing a 6-foot polearm for more than 2 minutes? Can you maintain a crossbow's spanning mechanism when your hands are numb from cold? Would you have the discipline to sharpen that axe every night, even when you're exhausted? Drop your honest assessment in the comments. No plot armor, no protagonist syndrome, just real talk about which weapon you could actually use to stay alive. And if you're finding value in this tactical breakdown of medieval weapons that actually work instead of fantasy mall ninja bullshit, subscribe and hit the bell. This channel exists to give you survival information that respects your intelligence. Now go practice your overhead chop form and stop romanticizing swords.